value-added products. So there are different centers, around 6 centers are there under this project. And under this project, along with the material obtained through Harvest Plus program by the different centers, the following 1 hybrid and 1 variety and 6 hybrids were released in different points of time in pearl millet. And here the varietal release policy is like in any other crop. In pearl millet also we have 3 types system of testing. The first year will be initial varietal trial or initial hybrid trial. The next year will be advanced hybrid trial or advanced varietal trial 1, and then third year will be advanced varietal trial 2 or advanced hybrid trial 2. Now, for development and release of varieties, all the material has to be passed through a certain pearl millet. And in pearl millet, after the biofortification plant breeding and pearl millet was started, a separate trial of high iron and zinc was started in pearl millet. And this is how these 6 hybrids were released from that trial. If you look into the iron and zinc content here it is 73 ppm iron, zinc is 41 ppm in HHB 299, 77 ppm iron, 39 ppm zinc. Similarly, higher amounts of iron and higher amounts of zinc are seen here. But if you see the yield levels, the highest grain yield they could get is, means the average in the experiments they could get is only 3.2 tons. It is 3.1 ton or 3.2 tons. But if you see in the normal coordinated trials, the yields are somewhere around 3.5 to 4 tons per hectare. These high iron and zinc varieties, though they are having high iron and zinc, they are not matching with the regular hybrids and varieties in terms of yield. When I started speaking about biofortification, I said that the farmer should also be happy and consumer also should be happy. Now, in spite of having high iron and zinc, if they are not able to give high yield, these yields are not very low, but they are not very high as. So, if we have to combine high yield and high micronutrient content, then we should have a different strategy. Now, also when these hybrids and varieties are released as biofortified varieties, in the market, the farmer is not going to get any high premium price because there is no segregation in the market level. Number 1. Number 2, even in the market, you have any system, there is no system to screen that this is a high iron variety, this is a low iron variety. Because there is no premium price available, there is no system of segregating high iron material with the low iron material. And number 3, the consumer is also not able to differentiate which one is high iron material, which one is low iron material. And in the long run, we will be coming up only with varieties, but without market, without translation to the without being taken to the end user or the consumer. So we thought that because we have large amount of variability available with us, and there are established procedures of developing high iron pearl millet or high zinc pearl millet, and also it has been demonstrated that we can develop the materials with yield and these increased nutrients. So we thought, why not we club these high iron, these micronutrients into our main breeding program. That is, we started mainstreaming this micronutrient content into our pearl millet breeding programs. These are the high iron hybrids which I just mentioned in the previous slide. This is AHB 1200. This is HHB 299. This is Field View. Then HHB 311. This is coming from Hisar. AHB 1269 coming from Aurangabad. RHB 234 coming from Durgapura, Jaipur. Again, RHB 233 coming from Durgapura, Jaipur. Now, those people, I'll just come back to these slides. Yeah. Whenever I have shown you biofortified hybrids and varieties. Now, when we give this material to the farmers to grow, the farmers have some questions. They say, you are giving us biofortified material to grow. Whether this iron and zinc content of any cultivar will be the same, regardless of the environment where they are grown. That means they are asking us whether there will be differences in these content. Then whether iron and zinc content of any cultivar depends on the inherent soil iron and zinc content. Whether grains produced in environments with higher grain yield will have low iron and zinc content compared to those produced in environments with lesser grain yield. Whether the bioavailability of iron and zinc in the grains from cultivars with high levels of these nutrients will be more from those with the lower levels of nutrients. Yes, these are not only questions put for the farmers, some breeders and consumers also, the policymakers also have put. Yes, whether there is iron and zinc content difference depending on the environment, the iron and zinc content vary. That is why when we thought of including these traits into the main breeding program, we thought they should be tested in multi-locations. That is why we have made them a part of our testing criteria. And also, the other question they had put is whether iron and zinc content of any cultivar depends on the inherent soil iron zinc content. It does not depend on it does not totally depend on this iron and zinc content unless and until the soils are deficient in those nutrients. If it is a normal soil, it will not be affected. But if the soils are hungry, then definitely the iron and zinc content will be affected. Whether grain produced in environment with higher grain yield will be varied for the low grain yield, lesser grain yield environment. There is no difference between the higher grain yield environment and a lower grain yield environment in the iron and zinc content. And also there was a question whether bioavailability of iron and zinc will be higher in those coming with higher micronutrients compared to those of the lesser micronutrients. Bioavailability does not depend on the quantity of the nutrient available in the variety. It is not affected by that. So with all these things in the mind, this point we have started mainstreaming micronutrient content in our pearl millet breeding program. For this, the base study was taken by ASAP and pearl millet and ICSAT in 2016, where a multi-location trial of 18 open pollinated varieties and 122 hybrids was conducted in 2 years over different locations, and the iron content ranged from 42 to 67 mg per kg in varieties and 31 to 61 in hybrids, and zinc content varied from 37 to 52 and 32 to 52 in hybrids. And these 122 hybrids and 18 open pollinated varieties are nothing but the varieties and hybrids which were released through the system over a number of years. So in one way, the entire amount of variability present in the released varieties and hybrids were assessed over years and over decades. So this gave us an idea of the amount of micronutrients, both iron and zinc, available in the released material. So based on this, the benchmark levels were derived, and then a landmark decision was taken in 2017 in our annual group meeting, where we fixed that iron content, a minimum of 42 ppm of iron content should be there, and minimum of 32 ppm zinc content should be there for promotion in All India coordinated trials and for identification and release of the material. I mentioned that we have a 3-tier system of testing. So in any crop, whether it is rice or wheat or maize or pearl millet or chickpea or any other crop, we have these 3 years of testing. So for promoting any entry from one year to the other, it will be tested across some standards with the checks and with the other material. And it will be promoted to next year only when it has superiority in yield and it shows resistance to existing diseases and insects. Till date, only crop flowering, diseases, insects, all these things are taken care. But nowhere a micronutrient, a nutritional quality trait was incorporated as one of the promotion criteria for promotion. The slides which I have shown previously where biofortified varieties were released in rice, wheat and other things, there it is for release under the category of biofortified varieties. But here I am speaking of the normal variety. So instead of categorizing a special group as biofortified or normal thing, we started incorporating this nutritional quality trait also along with the yield traits. So now if a pearl millet breeder has to develop a variety or a hybrid, he or she should keep in mind that along with yield and other desirable traits, these two traits also should be there and minimum of 32 ppm zinc and 42 ppm iron should be available. And after that, we have materials released, identified for release. These are the four, the ones in black color are the normal hybrids. They released after our baseline was this benchmark was constituted. You can see iron is more than 42 ppm here and zinc is more than 32 ppm here. Here the ones which is showed in red color are the biofortified material because they are coming in a different trial. These are the normal hybrids without any biofortification tag, but now having more than the benchmark level. And in 2019, these are the hybrids released where again you can see iron more than 42 ppm, zinc 32 ppm. Now this is till here I have shown about the released material, identified and released material. These slides which I am showing is the extent of variability we see in the trials, different materials present in the trials. You can see as low as 27 to as high as 100 ppm. This is in 2017, this is in 2018. For zone A, these are the different trials. This is the kind of variability you can find. For zone B, these are the different trials and this is the extent of variability. This is the range. This is the range here. This is for iron content. Coming for the zinc content, you can see the extent of variability. This is the range here in 2017, 2018. For zone A, again, this is the range. This is the range in 2018. For zone B, 2017, this is the range and this is in 2018. So now we have sufficient amount of variability for iron and zinc content across the trials and across the material. Recently, someone has put a question to us. Harvest Plus has put the level as 77 ppm. And why you people have taken only 42 ppm of iron? Why this much of difference is there? Just now I have shown the slides in iron content. You see, this is the extent of variability. And if you see the average, this is the thing, around 48, around 55, 42, 55. Here, here also it is the same. Unless and until we have higher amounts of micronutrient content present in the developed material or the material which is in the pipeline, we cannot increase the level to 70 or 77. Then no variety will be identified for this. First of all, incorporating a nutritional trait as one of the promotion criteria itself is a big change. Again, to change it again for increased quantity, unless and until we build up the material with enhanced micronutrient content, we cannot go for a higher amount of the nutrients. Now, once if we are having a biofortified tag, you have to have a special again seed production program, and then it has to be continuously monitored that it has that much iron content or zinc content, and then the seed has to be specially produced and specially marketed. Now, by making this iron and zinc content as one of the mainstream breeding character, it is taken as a normal trait, just like any hybrid or variety is produced. The similar procedure is adapted for developing, producing the seed of those material, and then it is being sold. So, in pearl millet, because it is a highly cross-pollinated crop, we have major role of hybrids. And in this, private sector has a very good role in developing the hybrids and marketing the seed. Though public sector hybrids are available, public sector lacks compared to private sector in the aspect that public sector maintenance breeding is poor, whereas in private sector, seed production is taken on a very aggressive mode and is also marketed in a very aggressive mode, which is lacking in public sector. And now, once we have these hybrids and varieties with enhanced iron and zinc, how can we transfer them? That means the spread of these material, it can be taken on a large farm field trials like frontline demonstrations either through agriculture universities or KVKs, or then large scale production and procurement of these varieties and including them in the Anganwadi programs or including them in ICDS schemes or special government sponsored programs like NFSM and integrated child development program. They are providing window for public distribution system using these enhanced iron and zinc varieties and hybrids. And also develop technologies to increase shelf life of pearl millet flour and creating demand for increasing consumption of iron pearl millet and establishing market linkages for value added chain products. All these things can be taken up. And this is one effort where pearl millet, the nutritional properties of pearl millet are brought out in this booklet portion, where it is nothing but pearl millet oriented, staple, healthy, all-inclusive nutrition. This is a publication brought out by Division of Biochemistry, IRA, highlighting the nutritional properties of pearl millet. And I mentioned just now that pearl millet is the first crop to incorporate iron and zinc content as one of the promotion criteria in our All India Coordinated Pearl Millet Trials. And this is a certificate given by Harvest Plus, where they are mentioning that for contributing to the National Biofortification Partnership and also for setting iron pearl millet and establishing first global minimum standard for micronutrient in the cultivar release policy that has a significant and lasting positive impact on the mission of Harvest Plus for improving human nutrition. So this is the first of its kind of step taken by the pearl millet group, and many of the crop coordinators have asked me how you have taken this decision to incorporate these nutritional traits into the promotion criteria. Just now I have told that we have screened the entire material released for both varieties and hybrids across locations and across years. And after seeing the data, after seeing the range of these nutrient contents in this material, then only we have come to a decision that this should be the minimum level of quantity for iron, and this should be the minimum level for zinc. For iron, we have set as 42 ppm. For zinc, we have set as 32 ppm. For all this background work, most of the work was contributed from ICLSAT, where Dr. K.N. Rai and his group, supported by Harvest Plus, they have done wonderful piece of work in generating the data, and based on that, this decision could be taken. And now pearl millet stands to be the first crop to include nutritional traits in breeding, developing the hybrids and varieties, which are rich in iron and zinc content. And this is how we are trying to contribute to nutritional security of the country. And coronavirus pandemic has highlighted the importance of good nutrition, and this is a critical wake-up call to rethink, redesign, and reprioritize our food systems to deliver nutritious and affordable food for all. That is how our pearl millet would fit into this, because it is nutritious, affordable to all, and it can be easily taken up. And policymakers, researchers, and the agriculture sector need to come together to systematically solve the food divide that the pandemic has highlighted. So this is one of our baby steps towards ensuring good nutrition for all and providing immunity to everyone. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Now there is a question and answer deposit box. There is a, I think there's a lot of questions. You can choose randomly few, and later we go to the interview section.
Rajan Chaudhary has asked me a question that nutritional deficiencies can be addressed through biofortification of staple foods, which people eat most. And what is your opinion on biofortification of millets, which is not a major part of the common people's diet? So I think you might have got your answer in one of my slides, where I showed that people who are dependent on pearl millet, nearly 35 to 40% of their calories, energy is coming from pearl millet, and it is being consumed in not only in India, it is one of the major staple food crop in Africa also, where it is grown. Because most of the people in India are presently they eat only rice and wheat. But if you look into our traditional eating habits, we traditionally we eat different kinds of foods in different times of year. But now it has become a fashion that we should take only rice or wheat roti or other things. If you ask your grandparents or even your mother, they will tell you that they used to take different kinds of grains in different parts of the time, because they are supposed to give us different kinds of minerals which are essential to build immunity to the changing conditions in different parts of the period. And now people have started realizing the importance of this millet and they're eating. If someone is not able to understand the importance of that, we cannot help them. But people are changing and they are taking and they're embracing millets in their diets. If you go to some five-star restaurants in Gujarat, pearl millet is a delicacy in some restaurants, in five-star restaurants, which is premiumly priced. For normal people, they may not be knowing the importance of this, but people who know the value, they are consuming it. And that is why this pearl millet biofortification has come into. I think I have shown 2-3 slides on that. You can get back to that. Sanjeev Kumar has asked me a question. Is the process of biofortification creates an extra burden on plant, and whether it will disturb the natural balance given by nature? Can you explain? It is not going to create any extra burden on the plant, and it is not going to create any imbalance provided by the nature. Because if you remember, when I started the science of biofortification, I said that first we have to screen for the amount of existing variability. There is a large amount of variability available. That means already these things are available in the nature. We have started lately looking into these characters. Otherwise, they were available in the nature. So we are not creating any extra burden on this. That's why I said when we are breeding for high iron pearl millet or high zinc pearl millet, I said that we are trying to combine these traits along yield, not at the cost of yield. So these are well gelling together and they're going together. No burden on the plant or not they're creating any imbalance on nature. Dr. Rathod asked me, any pearl millet ICR biofortified hybrid released for cultivation in Maharashtra? Yes, there are two biofortified hybrids available in Maharashtra, AHB 1200 and AHB 1269. Any interested people can approach NARP Aurangabad. Dr. S.B. Pawar is the in charge of that, head of that unit. You can approach him. They can provide you the seed for that biofortified hybrid. Someone asked me, Fayaz Ahmad Dar, do we still need biofortification of millets and pseudo cereals? Although these crops are naturally enriched with essential micro and macronutrients. That is why we have mainstreamed these characters. We are not trying to breed biofortified varieties no more. We are trying to make them mainstream characters. So we will not have a separate category, but all the varieties and material coming from these 3D programs will naturally have high iron and zinc. Someone asked me about what is the current status of genome editing technology in millets for biofortification of stress tolerance. Right now, for biofortification, no one is going to use genome editing technology for millet. But yes, genome editing technology is being used for addressing the issues of rancidity in pearl millet, not for stress tolerance or for biofortification. Someone asked me whether there is any linkage drag found in pearl millet. We did not find any linkage drag. In some cases, there were some reports where there is high zinc content linked with low yield, but they are very few. And the answer to that is because you are able to find such segregants. If we have directed selection for increased nutrient content along with yield, that can be addressed. Someone anonymous attendee, at the time of polishing and milling, we remove most of the storage layers. Then what is the benefit of biofortifying if these layers are removed? The pearl millet and these millets are not going to be provided as polished grains. If you see the way these things are consumed, they are directly grinded, the powder is taken, and then it is consumed in, used in preparations. So I don't think you are going to lose any of these nutrients. Someone asked me, I think Dr. Kiran Kumar, is there any possibility in field crops to enhance the micronutrient content in the grain through agronomic practices like repeated foliar spray of micronutrients at flowering stage or prior to flowering stage? There are reports that foliar spray 4% ferrous sulfate, foliar spray, it is going to increase the yield, but we do not have at the reports which show that the micronutrient content is increased by spraying of these foliar sprays. Research has to be done to give answer to this. HHB 299 and HHB 311 are biofortified hybrids for Hisar. No, these are the hybrids coming from Hisar. These are the hybrids developed by Hisar Group in collaboration with ICRISAT, Harvest Plus, and ASAP in pearl millet. What is the amount of micro and macronutrients that are used in hybrid pearl millet? This is not right kind of the question.
Ma'am, you take only one questions, just the last one question.
Any iron and zinc linked markers validated in pearl millet? Yes, there are reports, and one of my students at IARA has done association mapping. She has already given iron and zinc linked markers. One more student has done QTL mapping. That paper is in line, and also we have some publications along with the ICRSAT where QTL mapping for iron and zinc has been done, and already markers are available.